Welcome to 100 Yards of Football. And this is our legend segment. And today we got an awesome show for you. I got a guest, somebody I've known my whole life and his whole life. My second son, Brice Butler. Brice, welcome to the show, man.
What's up, man? I'm glad I could be on the show with my dad right now. It's gonna be fun.
Absolutely, man. We got a lot to talk about in a short time to get there. So listen, man, I'm excited to have you on. This show, Brice, is a legend show, but basically what we do, we're trying to inspire kids. We're trying to help educate parents and, how to raise your kid if your kid's an athlete or whatever your kids are doing, how to kind of govern that life behind that journey. So, and I like to always start by asking some questions. You played football. You were a three-sport guy in high school. You played basketball. You played track. And you made a decision one day to let everything else go except your main deal. But we're going to talk about that. So here's the question. As of right now, you played 6 years in the National Football League. You went to a prestigious college, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But before all of that, before you even played high school ball, how old were you when you started playing football?
I think I was either 6 or 7 years old. I remember I was in second grade.
Okay.
When I started playing football, and it's Pop Warner. My helmet was my body. Funny. I just saw a video earlier, and I was telling my buddies I love looking at old Pop Warner footage of kids because their helmets are their whole body. It just looks like a whole bunch of bobbleheads running around.
Right. So, exactly.
And I just got off the phone with TJ Smith, a long time, childhood friend, still a friend today. And we were just talking about the old days playing football and stuff like that. So I started playing ball when I was in second grade, around 7 years old. If I remember correctly, I played in the 70-pound league for 2 years. And then I guess I tried to pull a veteran card in the third year. I wanted to skip training camp. I said, I'll play football if I can skip training camp. And he was like, nah, man, if you don't play, if you don't do training camp, you're not playing football. So I didn't play. I think I skipped 80-pound altogether.
Right.
And then when I was 10, I guess, or 11, I went back out there and played, 90-pound. And then obviously I just went up from there.
So let me ask you this. All right. So you started playing when you were 7. And I remember this about it because we played basketball. You started playing basketball, organized basketball, when you were 3 years old.
Right. That's what you tell me.
Benton. And that's a whole other story right there. Right. And so you started playing sports at a young age. You started playing soccer when you were 3 years old. And you also played T-ball when you were 3 years old. I wish I had a video to show you guys of Brice's first T-ball game. You guys would just scream laughing. It's funny. But we never signed you guys up for anything. You guys always asked to play a sport, right? And then, okay. And when you asked us to play football, your mom was totally against it. You probably don't remember that. And I said, no, Brice, I think we need to let him play football because he got a little bit too much energy around here. We need to get some of that energy out of him.
Yeah. Sounds like my son now.
So that's how you started. But then again, the guys like TJ, CJ White, Tristan, and all those guys, were playing at that age, and y'all all were very competitive in basketball at the Dorville Arena. So I thought it would be a good thing for you to match up with those guys and play. And it worked out. In your first year, were you a wide receiver? What did you play your first year?
No, Coach Corey. I think it's like this in most Pop Warner leagues, but when you first go out there, it's you have to play defense. So mind you, people, it's a 70-pound league, so everybody weighs the same thing. So it's not like you put the big guys on the line, the fast guys on the outside. So I played nose guard. I want to say, was it my first 2 years? You
played both years. You played quarterback your second year, and then you end up ending the year back at defense at nose guard.
Yeah. So I played nose guard my first year,
right?
And I just remember being super aggressive because I remember my first day. If you probably remember this, the first day I went out to practice at all, we had some type of hitting drill, and I remember they were like, "Pick who you want." and I picked one of my buddies from back then. His name is Deontay Cannelmore, and he's still small today. Like he was super small. So I was like, I'll pick him, and he smoked me. And then I just remember crying a lot. And I just remember you saying something like, along the lines of like, this is how football is. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you get hit, you got to get back up. It's fine, whatever. And then I just remember the next day, I feel like from then on, I was like, I'm taking people's heads off. And so, I remember that. I remember some of the games and some of the practices now. And I think I was 7 or 8. Vividly, actually. And so I started out playing defense. I mean, obviously I played receiver in the NFL, but started out playing defense. And my dad, it was funny, we were talking about this recently. Somebody was talking about like, do you think you could have played corner in the pros? And I was like, well, my dad used to always tell me, at the time in high school, I was like 6'2", 6'2" corners. Like, there's not too many of you guys, fast guys, blah, blah, blah. If you play corner, it will almost be like a walking ticket into the NFL. You can catch, blah, blah, blah. And I just remember at that time, I was like, no, I'm not tackling people. I'm not doing none of that. Like, I'm playing offense. And then I was talking to buddies recently, and I was like, yeah, like if I would have said, hey, I'm going to play corner, I think I could have. Obviously I would have had you to teach me or whatever, get me right. But in
high school you played corner sometimes, and to be honest with you, they wanted to start you both ways in high school, and I was totally against that. I said, look, let him play receiver because y'all had so much talent on the Norcross team. You'd have had guys sitting the bench and had you out there working both ways when you really didn't have to do that.
Right.
And I thought you'd be better for the team if you just concentrated on the offensive side of the ball. So it worked out the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
Right. So check this out. So you started at 7. When did you really start to dream about taking it as far as you can take it?
Honestly, I want to say then, dog. Really. Because, you had pictures up in the house. And I think from the beginning, you can tell me if I'm incorrect or if you remember or not. I feel like from the beginning, I was saying I want to play just as long as you did or longer, from the jump. So, and it's funny, and I'm probably gonna have this conversation with my buddy tomorrow. But it's funny. I tell people once I told you I wanted to play football, it was like you told me everything I needed to know about the ins and outs of everything about football, business and the football side of it, in the pro level. So I tell my friends this and we laugh about it, but I tell them when I was before I was the age of 10, you used to talk about how to save my money, how to 401ks and all this and that and how the league was going to be. And so, to answer your question, I think it was when I first started putting stuff on, I was I want to do, this is what I want to do. And honestly, I think, obviously I played basketball longer than I played football up until that point, and then going into high school, because like you said, I played when I was 3 until I was about 15 or 16. So a lot of my buddies will tell you that I was better at basketball than I was at football until I got to the high school level. And I'm pretty sure you're probably going to ask me questions about that. I can answer fully then. But yeah, I feel like I feel like from the jump, ever since I put pads on, I was like, I want to go to the NFL. I never in my life had a dream or a vision to play in the NBA and I was better at basketball until I was in the NFL, seeing the NBA players get all that money that's getting paid. And I was like, man, I should have played basketball. I could have made it if I would have, obviously if I'd have been trying to, but
right. Well, I remember a pivotal moment, I think, in your life. You were in high school, you was a freshman, and it was the first year you played wide receiver. And you always wanted to be a wide receiver since day one. But, in youth football, you don't throw the ball, you're a tight end. So I kept telling you, play quarterback, learn how to play in open space, so when you get a chance to play wide receiver, you'll be good with it.
Right.
Well, in the 9th grade, you were a better basketball player than you were a football player. You were basically the second guy on the freshman team, right? Behind a guy who was a great receiver. He was bigger than you. and you had nice size, tall.
Talking
And
about Devontae?
Devontae, and you never.
I was the number one basketball guy in my class.
Yeah, you were the one basketball guy.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about football.
Oh, I was like the number 12 guy. If you remember,
that's my point. And so I remember this conversation you and I had. But you were in a good position because as a ninth grader, you ended up on the varsity playing behind your brother on a team that went 31-0 in basketball, playing Wheeler for the state championship game. You were on that bench as a ninth grader. And so the next season, man, you're supposed to be in the mix with Brenton, Jody, in that group, and Ghani, right? And so, but what happened was you were playing summer basketball, and I'm going like, I asked you one day, what do you really want to do? And you kept saying, I want to play football. I said, well, I'm going to recommend you drop this basketball and get with Stacey Bailey and start training to be a better wide receiver, because the way you played football your freshman year, I'm going like, bruh, that ain't going to get it right there. That's not going to get it, right? So, and you said, and you basically said to me, man, that's crazy. I can't quit basketball. But about 2 weeks later, you came back and said, Dad, I think that's the right decision to make. And you went and started working with Stacey Bailey. And I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. When I saw you play as a 10th grader, if I didn't know your number, I wouldn't have known that was you. That's how much you changed your route running ability. I mean, you were starting on the varsity as a sophomore in a 4-wide set, with some gangster wide receivers, because you were a sophomore. Devontae was a sophomore, and ladies and gentlemen, Devontae committed to Alabama. He was about 6'4", 220. Am I right?
Yeah. I mean, this is a 10th grader.
Right. And Brice played the slot on that side, and he ended up going to Southern Cal. And then on the other slot, we had a guy named Darius Hanks, who played at Alabama, had a good career at Alabama, wide receiver. And then we had a guy named Tyreek Gaines, right?
Tyrese Gaines, yeah.
Tyrese Gaines, who went to Oregon. He was a monster. He was like a 4'3" guy, about 6'2", about 220.
Yeah, 6'2", 220, straight like almost like Julio Jones.
So you were on a team like that, but when I looked at the four of you guys collectively, you were so much farther ahead of all of those guys in your route running.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, Stacey really did some work with him this year. And that was your starting your maturation to who you became. And you were such a good route runner in high school, everybody thought you couldn't run speed-wise because you were long and lanky, and you didn't look as fast as a little shorty, running, but I mean, you can flat out get it. So in high school, here's some of the things you did. You were a graduate of Norcross High School in 2008. You were a Super Prep All-American, Prep Star All-American, ESPN 150, Super Prep Elite 50, Prep Star Dream Team, Super Prep All-Dixie, Prep Star All-Southeast, Atlanta Journal-Constitution Super Southern 100, and you were Army All-American coming out of high school. And you had offers from every major school in the nation except one. You remember who that was?
Texas.
The University of Texas was the only school that didn't.
Because I wouldn't go visit.
You wouldn't go visit.
I was like, what?
Exactly.
But if we're talking to kids, I will tell you guys right now, to be honest with you guys, don't worry about the amount of offers you get.
Right.
Just focus on the offers that you do have.
Right.
Because I will say it is a blessing and a curse to have that many offers. Because you remember, like, me and you used to like plot out and try to figure out what school we wanted to visit, and then you have so many choices. Unless you just have a school that you just really want to go to. Now, obviously, you went to Florida State, Mom went to Florida State.
Right.
Growing up as a kid, I thought that's where I was going to go, right? But then once the recruiting process started, I was like, nah, I don't think that's the right school for me.
Right.
So, like, what I would tell kids, and I like to tell parents and stuff. Now, I just told a kid from Arizona this past week, it's really almost better if you only have 5 offers or like 3 offers, or maybe just 2 or whatever, because it makes your decision process way easier. And like, I always throw a metaphor like out there with shoes. I got a lot of shoes, but you can only wear one at a time.
Right. That's right.
And so it makes it harder when you have 50 pairs of shoes in your closet, and
Right.
you have on an outfit, but you're like, all right, what shoe do I want to wear? Like, like it matches, it does this or does this. And if you just had maybe 3 pairs, you'd be like, that pair, let's
Right.
go.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So I tell kids all the time. So kids, if you're listening right now, don't be so hung up and caught up on the amount of offers. Just value the amount that you have, whatever amount that is, and then pick your school and then go and ball out. Because I've had a ton of teammates in the NFL who went to small schools, and them suckers are ballers,
right?
And they're in the league, or they've made a career for themselves, and they played a long time. I'm pretty sure, obviously, when you played, it was different. There was a lot of still historical black colleges, stuff like that. But don't be afraid to go to a Central Michigan. Don't be afraid to go to a Delaware. Don't be afraid to go to those schools, because if you blossom late, a lot of kids don't get offers because they might blossom late.
Right, exactly.
And a buddy, me and my son went to the Cardinals game yesterday. The Cardinals and the Bills, which was a great game. And Andre Roberts gave us tickets, and he went to one of them like small, like little Navy Army schools in the Northeast in Virginia somewhere, like
Citadel.
I think he went to the Citadel. I think that's where he went. You know what I'm saying? So, and he's been in the league. I think this is 12th season.
Right. Exactly.
Pro Bowl, a couple Pro Bowls.
Exactly. So think about it. So I don't know if you remember this or not. So you and I traveled all over the country together. We went to Penn State, went to Notre Dame, went to Arizona State. We went to LSU. We went to Florida. Don't tell nobody. We went to Gainesville. We went to Tallahassee, LSU. You went to Alabama with your mom,
Georgia,
and Georgia, and then we went to USC together, right?
Arizona State.
And every time we came back, I would say this to you: all right, Brice, we don't have to go to these schools. We can go to Bowling Green. Now we use Bowling Green every time.
Right. We
can go to Bowling Green and catch 100 balls your first year and make it happen. We don't have to go. I would say it every time we come back from a trip, But at the end of the day, my experience in my own personal life was I had to allow you to make your own decision. I was not going to make that decision for you like a lot of parents. They put pressure on their kids to play close. So you went from Norcross, Georgia, all the way to LA to go to school. I mean, how was that for you?
To caveat on what you just kind of said, obviously, I was blessed to have both my parents in the household. How y'all have been married 40 years almost.
39.
So, a lot of kids I know, they might only been raised with their mom.
Right.
And their mom may put pressure on them. Obviously, there's a lot of situations where there is pressure, but then sometimes there's situations like the kid I was talking to last week where their mom told him, like, you go where you want to go. But he's like, nah, like I gotta be close. I gotta protect you. I gotta look out for you.
Different field, right?
Those are different fields. I didn't have that. I had, both of y'all, and to where I felt like I could go where I wanted to go. Because like you said, you went to Florida State. You hate the Florida Gators, but we took a visit there because they just won the national championship. And you were like, you need to be able to go to the best. You need to see what they're doing. Right. So when you go to these schools, you can make those, you can see like the differences, you know what I mean? And I think when we sat back and talked about the practices we saw, if I remember correctly, it was LSU, Florida, and USC. They practiced like the best.
Right.
Like they were getting after it. They were competing, you know what I'm saying? And you were like, hey, like you see how they are, they compete. This is going to get you ready for the NFL. So, we went everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like we went to a lot of big schools. We went to Penn State because you wanted to beat Joe Paterno. I remember that. But that ended up being one of my like funnest visits.
Right.
Deion Butler, Jordan Norwood, and all those guys. Like, we had a good time. I'm still cool with those guys to this day. Right. And I didn't even go there. Wow. And there was like a really big incident that happened that I wasn't involved in, but if you remember like that big old fight that broke out.
I remember. I forgot.
We had to go talk to like some lawyer attorney to give our account of the, but whatever. Right. Anyways. but yeah, I mean, Brenton went to school in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people this all the time. I wanted, honestly, you know, I was a little different the way I thought then.
Right.
I wanted to do something that like nobody did, you know, because I just remember, you know, I was really confident. I was really focused on making it to Division I. So like it almost could come off as very cocky and arrogant, but really it was just like, no, like I really believe in myself and I'm working, like I'm working to get there.
To get there, right.
And so like, you know, I used to get a lot of flack from teachers, friends, you know, teammates, older kids. I mean, even Brenton, my older brother, Jody, they used to always make fun of me because I used to be on the basketball team. Like I was a freshman going to the state championship, being like, I don't want to play basketball. Like, this is dumb. Like, I'm about to fail. And, you know, like a 15-year-old kid saying that to like 17, 18-year-olds. Like, you know how it is at that time. You're like, shut up, man. Like, get out of here, you know? So like I kind of had this mindset of like I want to do something that like nobody around here has done. Everybody was going to Georgia, everybody was going to Alabama, even like just the kids around the area. And then like I had another thing where I was just like, you know, and y'all brought us up really nice and disciplined and tough. And obviously like that's a blessing because like now like a lot of my life choices are based upon that, and like obviously hindsight always the best. But like at that time, I was like, I don't want to go anywhere to where my parents can hop in a car and drive to see me. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, I can't go to Georgia. I can't go to Tallahassee. Like, cause I was like, if my parents want to come see me, like y'all have to hop on a plane. You know what I'm saying? And that was honestly like, obviously like the football it took precedent over everything. Like between the schools that I had kind of lined up, I felt like USC was the best school, and still to this day, even though it didn't like work out the way I pictured it working out, it still was one of the best places I could have went for myself because the amount of NFL level talent that was on that team, and Pete Carroll, obviously one of the best NFL coaches now, you know, being able to see how to work, being able to grind like every day, like going from high school like lazy practice to like every rep is a game rep. You know, like so that taught me how to play the game of football. Now, I think what kind of what messed me up a little bit in college, as far as just like my focus a little bit, was when I got redshirted. It kind of messed me up because like, you know, you're going into college like I'm about to do this, I'm about to do this, I'm about to do this. And then you get into your team, and I got hurt. If you remember, I had a high ankle sprain. I was like jacked up for like a minute. You know, it went from me like not having to prepare to play. So like now, like I'm just practicing and I'm not playing. So like I'm up all night hanging out because I know I don't have to play. So I think that kind of messed me up a little bit. As far as like my focus was concerned, just a bit. You know what I'm saying? And I was still learning things. I was 18. I was still learning things. And I feel like, you know, with SC, like everything that happened there, you know, it really helped me because, you know, Carroll left. I was supposed to be like the guy. Carroll left. Kevin comes in. Then I go from like playing to not playing. And then I had to really learn, like, you have to be prepared when your number is called because it might not be called that often. So like, I think for my NFL career, when you look at my career, those trials and tribulations in college is what propelled me to a 6 year or 7. I always say 7 because I went 7 training camps. But you know, it propelled me that long because I faced adversity. I knew how to handle it. I knew how to conduct myself in those scenarios. Because obviously, when I was in college, I didn't conduct myself well. I was cussing out I was cussing Coach Given out every second I could get. You know, stuff like that. You know, so then once it got to the point where, you know, I got to the pros, I knew how to work. I knew how to work my way up a depth chart. I knew how to take advantage of my opportunities. I knew how to control what I could control. Like I learned all that by being in college. So when, you know, when I look back at, you know, my college career, like people are like, would you change and go somewhere else? I'd be like, no, you know what I'm saying? Because I learned a lot. Now, if I could go back to USC, there would be some things I would do differently, like seeing what I saw, you know. But nah, like I to this day, I don't regret going to SC at all.
Well, that's good though, man. Because I tell you, there was a lot. See, the picture's always bigger than just that thing, right? Because I never forget when me and your mom came out there. one of those times your freshman year.
Mhm.
And we said, well, we're coming. And you said, yeah, good. I'm glad y'all coming because I got somebody I want y'all to meet.
Yeah.
And so for me, that is the blessing. I'm talking about your wife, Brianna Gilbreth Butler, who was a basketball player at Southern Cal, who became a family member, official family member in April of 2014.
13. 14.
13?
You're right. 14.
Hey,
Right.
you're going to get yourself in trouble, boy.
Right. You're right.
2014. You were drafted in 2013.
Right.
And now we got a grandson who is going to blow up the 2036 Olympics. So anyway, it's always bigger than the moment that you're in. And then always say this: there's always, Brice, when you go through difficult moments, you have to find the seed of the equivalent benefit.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be a seed in those adversity moments, those bad times, that's going to help you grow. You're going to learn some things, just like you talked about, with Coach Kiffin and all that kind of stuff, right? So in 2013, you get drafted. You transferred to San Diego State, played a year down there, started grad school down there. Went down there with a quarterback from Oregon State. Tell us a little bit about that guy.
Yeah, Ryan Katz, my guy. Shout out to Ryan Katz. Yeah, we both were trying to leave our situations. He went to Oregon State. I went to USC. He played for a little bit. I obviously played for a little bit. And, it was interesting because it was like we were doing this on our own, and then we found out about him, and he was almost about to go to San Jose State. And I remember we got on the line with him. It was like, hey, man, like, look, like, obviously we'll be better than a lot of the guys there. What do we want to do? And so we ended up both going to state, which was dope. And it started off straight, you know what I'm saying? Like learning that system or whatever, but then he got hurt.
Right.
I think week 5 or something like that. And then, then it was just like literally another learning point, just like getting the scraps, like whatever ball.
The passing game, suffered.
Yeah, literally. So like it went from, the ball getting thrown around a little bit, and we had like a little receiver by committee thing, which I hated. I still talk to those guys today, and I'm like, I don't know why we were doing that, but whatever. Yeah, and so like after that, it really suffered. So then you blocking. So
right.
And that helped me in the pros too, because I block pretty well.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, in the NFL, and I spent a lot of time, especially I would say in Dallas, getting those running game reps. Right. That Dez didn't want. You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
That helped me out a little bit.
So in 2013, you got drafted. What was draft day like for you?
The draft weekend, because now it's a weekend.
Right.
I knew I wasn't getting drafted the first round day. I knew I should have been getting drafted around at least the second to third round day, but like I knew I wouldn't. You know what I'm saying? So I think around that time we was doing a lot of like wedding stuff, like going to visit restaurants to see what we wanted as far as food is concerned. And I was trying not to like pay attention to it because I figured if I were to get drafted, it would be like 6th, 7th round, maybe 5th.
Right.
I think the toughest thing for me though was seeing guys that like I knew I was better than, guys that I grew up with or came up with in the circuit of high school football. But they went to the Bowling Greens, or they went to the Louisvilles at the time. Louisville, they went to the Clemsons, or they went to they went to those smaller schools, and they ended up being the guy.
Right.
And so, I think the last day, I think it was Saturday or Sunday, yeah, Thursday, Friday, yeah, Saturday. I was getting pissed because you start thinking about like, your time in college, like, man, if I would have did this, or like, could I have done this, or was it me, or was it somebody else? You know what I'm saying? Like you just start thinking about stuff. But I just remember, I knew though that it didn't matter if I got drafted or not. I was like, if I get it, like when I get in the door, like I'm gonna be there. Like I knew that because I knew my skill set. I'm 6'3". At the time I was like 210, 215. I was like, I'm 4'3". That's when except for my shoulder, that's when like I was healthy. My foot, everything was money. So I'm like, I'm not tripping. I know how to practice. Like I went to SC, like I played against the best of the best. Those guys are dominating the league. So I'm about to hop in the league and I dominate too, So yeah, so I got drafted by the Raiders. a couple draft picks before the Green Bay Packers said they were going to get me. And I still to this day be like, my trajectory of my freaking career would be so different if I would have spent a year or two with the. I mean, I think I would have started. I don't know if I would have started because they had Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, James Jones. I would have had to do like maybe the special teams thing for a year,
right?
Because they had guys, but like I would have been. I know I would have been kidding. Anyways, so yeah, it was great, man. I mean, as soon as like I got that call from Reggie McKenzie, all those thoughts of like whatever I had were out the window.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I got the call.
Right.
I remember I was on the phone, I think with a Chicago Bears scout. They tried to call me. I didn't click over. Then they called me on it. Then I handed you the phone and, you know, stuff like that. So, I mean, it was a great feeling. I mean, when you get that name call, it kind of almost, unless you're like expecting to go first round and go second, like I don't think it matters when you get drafted. I just think you're excited.
It don't. It's the day that you've been waiting on your whole life, man.
Exactly.
It don't matter if it's first. You know, when I played, we had 12 rounds.
Yeah.
You know, those guys after the 7th round, you know, would be free agents today, right? 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th round. Well, good. So you go to Oakland. Terrell Pryor was over there ahead of you.
Terrible.
Terrell Pryor was there as a quarterback.
Terrible.
And y'all played in the high school all-star game, the All-American game together.
Yep, we did.
Right. That's how you first. He was the number one quarterback or dual threat.
He was the number one player.
Period. Coming out.
He was the number one player. Period. And number 2 was Julio. And then AJ Green was like number 4.
Right. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That was a heck of a
nice class. There's a lot of people that are still in the league to this day that came out of that class. Patrick Peterson.
Patrick Peterson was in that class. That's right.
Tyron Smith. I mean, I can go on. I mean, there's a ton of dudes still in the league.
So, all right. So far, you know, you drafted by the Raiders. You played there. Your first preseason game, y'all played the Dallas Cowboys in Oakland.
Yeah.
And in that game, as a rookie, you had 2 catches. I don't know how many yards, but you caught one of the best touchdowns somebody could, especially for your first pro game. It's about a 30, 40-yard touchdown where you laid out, stretched out, and caught the back end of the ball.
Barely
in the end zone and brought it in.
Yeah.
You know, I got that picture hanging up on my wall in my basement, right? Your very first pro game. And I thought, when I was watching, I said, man, all right, so this is his first game, man. He feel comfortable. He's looking comfortable out there. So how was that for you?
Yeah, I mean, I just remember going into training camp. And obviously, you don't know anything, so like the level of urgency is like skyrocketed, right? Like, you know, I never changed who I was around like my rookie homies that, you know, when we would go back to the hotel or whatever. But like around the locker room, like you quiet, you like you're not saying nothing. Like you know, like you have dudes on the team that you look up to that you're asking questions, but you ain't really talking. Like you just like, you know, because I mean, obviously, and then on top of that, like, you know, I had you to kind of like get me prepared for it. So like I didn't want to go in there as that like loud mouth, even though I was balling. I didn't want to go in there as a loudmouth rookie, and then they try to make me do everything, carry all this and that. And luckily for me, I mean, I kind of wish I had like an old head vet receiver in the room. I didn't. Like the guys I had, it was Demo, Denarius Moore. He was a second-year guy. Rod Streeter was like a second-year guy. Jacoby Ford was going into his 4th year, but like I mean, he was more of a return specialist. West
Palm Beach.
Yeah, we had like Jerron Kreiner, who was young. He played against me in college. He was in his 2nd year. So like the cool thing about that was like we were all like young, trying to figure it out together. So like everybody was cool. So like there was no like, you know, Steve Smith old head where he's just beating us up. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like that. It was all cool.
Making y'all take all the reps while he rested in practice.
Yeah, it wasn't like that. But we had like Charles Woodson, obviously one of the best DBs to ever play. So and he's still a good friend to me today. Like I leaned on him a lot. And we had a lot of old, like we had the oldest team in the league. We had like Justin Tuck. We had a lot of old guys.
Oh, that's right.
Tuck, I think Tuck came in 14, but still we had a lot of old guys that were on that roster that did things in their career like when they were in their primes that ended up kind of getting dumped in Oakland. And then you know, so like I spent a lot of time with them, and then I was doing really well in training camp prior to the first game. So like I mean, I didn't honestly, Pops. I didn't really go into that game nervous at all. Like I went in there like I'm about to ball on these dudes.
Right, right,
I've been
right,
killing. Like
right,
I've been
exactly.
killing. And then
Right.
I just remember like the okay now going into that game I was like super hyped, had some
Mhm,
tears. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
Because it's like I'm here.
I'm here.
I'm about to, you know what I'm saying? And then I remember, and I haven't told him the story yet because I haven't physically met him yet in person.
Mhm,
But DeMarcus, like the first dude I saw, because
mhm.
in Oakland at the time at the old stadium, both teams come out the same tunnel.
Right.
So, we come out this side, they come out that side, but you
Mhm.
come through the same tunnel
Same
that takes
tunnel,
you to
right,
the field. So
right.
when I first walked down the field, the first guy I saw was DeMarcus Ware. And I was like, what the heck? I'm like, this dude was like 6'6", like 230, 240, like just solid.
Uh-huh.
And he still looks like that today.
Mhm.
And I just remember being like, yo, like, and then like, you go on the field and you see Tony Romo, and I see my boy Tyron Smith, who I played with in
Right,
college,
that's it,
and then
right.
I see Dez Bryant. I'm like, snap.
Man.
I'm like, who else? Orlando Scandrick,
Uh-huh.
and I
Yeah.
went against him a couple of times. I'm like, snap, I know who he is. Because,
Right,
Dallas,
right,
they
right,
always
right,
show them on TV.
right,
So even if you're not a fan, which I wasn't,
right,
like you
right,
see
right,
them all the time. So you know the whole team. You know what I'm
right.
saying? What was the running back's name? It started with a D. He went to Oklahoma. Almost broke the rushing record. What's his name?
In college?
Uh, nah, in the league. He rushed for like 2 Gs one year. 29. He played for the Cowboys for like all his career. What's his name? It'll come to me. But like I'm seeing
Yeah.
all those dudes, I'm like,
Right.
snap, man. Like this is the
Wow.
Cowboys, dog. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And then I played for the Raiders, so Raiders is historically,
Oh,
yeah. So
man.
like that first game, if I remember correctly, I don't think I got in maybe until like the second quarter, like because I was
Mhm,
playing F at the
mhm,
time,
mhm.
and then I was getting a little bit reps, so I was feeling myself around. Terrell
Right,
was playing quarterback, so I wasn't
right,
getting the ball thrown at me. So I was
right.
like, but I at least got my feet wet. And then the
Right.
second half, my guy Matty Ice,
Matty
um,
Ice. Yeah.
Matt went out there, and I knew he was gonna give me the ball because like that was our connection for like 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And so when that second half came around, I think I caught like a little glance route,
Mhm.
and I took it across the field.
Right, right.
Getting up the field, and I was like, all right, I'm getting loose. And
Mhm.
then I think the next drive or something like that, I ran it inside, release go, and I just
Right.
dove
That
for it.
was
And I
about
caught.
2 plays, about 2 or 3 plays later after that
Was it the same drive?
same drive. Mhm.
It was okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was.
Same drive. Yeah.
Okay.
Same drive. But of course, at Oakland, you played extremely well. You had some great games out there. Um, you used to rip up preseason every year because your boy Matty be throwing you the rock,
Yeah.
and y'all knew, hey, look, man, he's gonna look good. You're gonna look good. He knew he can count on you, and you knew you can count on him getting you the ball. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, man, wherever he go, I need to go with that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Facts.
So after your second season, going into your third season, you were in training camp, and the Dallas Cowboys traded for you out of Oakland
After the first week, yeah,
after the first week,
week
and
two.
you went to Dallas. And I never forget the phone call I got from you. It was something like, or a text. It was something like,
It was a phone call.
yeah, it was a phone call. You said, "Hey, Dad, something about you always want to play in Dallas or something like that." And say, "Now your boy's at Dallas now." On the Cowboys, I'm like, "Huh? What are you talking about?" Right? And
Yeah.
so, and that was hot because I grew up a Cowboy fan my whole life. Wanted to be like Bob Hayes, Dwayne Thomas, Calvin Hill. Roger Staubach was my guy.
Yeah.
As a kid, and so, and there you go with the opportunity to go and play for the Cowboys,
Yeah.
which was, I was elated about that. And so,
Yeah.
3 years with the Cowboys, you played with Dak, you played with Dez, you played with Terrence Williams, you
Jason
played with
Witten.
Zeke, you played with Tony Romo first year,
Yeah.
and it seemed like. And then when that got in, it seemed like, man, this wave started going like, hey, man, we're finna win us a ring, right?
Yeah.
And so it was an exciting time, man, when you were at the Cowboys. How did you like playing for the Cowboys?
I mean, I loved it. I think when I first got there, I hated it. To be honest with you, it was different.
From
Um,
Oakland?
Yeah, I mean, it was just different. Everything was different, right? Like if you remember, like I went from Atlanta to being in California for
Right.
a
Ah,
long time,
all
right?
right.
And then
That's
I'm
right.
leaving California to go into hot, humid behind Texas. You know what I'm saying? And like I remember my first day. So Darren McFadden
Right.
got picked up there as a free agent.
Right.
So I remember my first day.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm excited, I'm hyped or whatever, and I walked outside and I was like, "What the heck?" It's the middle of September.
Oh,
And I walked, and at that time we were at our old facility, so we practiced outside. We had no indoor.
okay.
And I remember walking outside, and it was like 95 degrees and all humidity. And I found D-Mac and was like, "Yo, y'all practicing this?" I was like, "What is this?" And he was like, and D-Mac, the way he talked, he was like, "Hey man, hey man, you better be ready, man. It ain't Oakland out here, though. It's hot out here." And I just remember like that first day, I died because
Right.
like they had me taking offensive reps and scout reps just to kind of get me going.
Going right. Exactly.
And Tony didn't practice on Wednesdays. So like Tony was just out there watching me like run, do this, do that, do this and that. And they didn't know me. So
Right.
like we talked about earlier, they didn't know like I was really like a long strider guy. I'm
Right.
moving, but I'm not fat. I'm not quick, like super
Fast
quick.
twitch.
And so, they're like telling me I'm not running and all this and that. And I'm like, I'm running by dudes. Like, what are you talking about? So like, it was just like a lot of stuff. And and the thing is about them, which was great, they practiced way better than how we practice in Oakland.
Okay. All right.
When I was in Oakland, we didn't really have a good, like at the time,
Mm-hmm.
they were still trying to change the culture there.
Right.
Even though Jack Del Rio got there and he had a little success, it still wasn't changed because whatever. So like when I got to Dallas, I was like, dang, like y'all suckers out here hitting,
right,
flying around. So like it was just different. And so I remember my first day of practice, man, like I cramped up. Like I was taking my clothes off after practice, clothes are soaked, and I had a full body cramp. And Sean Lee, that's why I'll always love this dude. He picked me up butt naked and lifted me into the IV room to give me an IV. And I was butt naked, like no clothes on, and I locked up and I couldn't move and I didn't know where to go. My first day in the facility. And I'm like, yo, like I'm cramping up. And at the time, I was a bad cramper. I cramped even in Oakland.
Right.
I was a bad cramper, and I remember Sean picked me up and literally butt naked, all the way to the IV room.
Wow.
And so yeah, I mean, in the beginning, I think I struggled just to kind of get used to the heat and at that time I didn't really understand my body as far as why I cramped like that. And if you remember, like I think my third game, finally caught my first pass and I pulled my hamstring.
Right.
It was Sunday Night Football against the Saints. It was like the game that I was like, I'm about to take over because like they were trying to get Terrence to take over and he really wasn't.
Right.
I think the way they thought he would. And they were like, yo, like, we're going to give you opportunity. Because the first 2 or 3 games I played, they didn't really throw me the ball.
Right.
But I was killing in practice. Like, until I started cramping.
Right.
And, yeah, I remember that game. The first half, I didn't really get targets. And I remember Brandon Wheaton came up to me at halftime. He was like, hey, dog, I'm coming to you this half. Like, be ready, And I remember being at halftime, being like, I need to get an IV. But I didn't really like the training staff at the time because we kind of rubbed each other the wrong way when we first got there with that first day that I needed an IV. And I was like, man, I don't know if I was like, man, I'll be fine. I'll just drink Gatorade.
Right.
And man, I went out there like the second play of the third quarter. I caught that bomb and I was stumbling. I tried to get myself up, finally got myself up, kicked my legs through, and my hamstring popped.
Wow.
And that's the first time I ever pulled a muscle ever. And the only time I've never pulled a muscle.
That's not a good feeling, bro.
And for y'all to understand what happened, I would have had a 75-yard touchdown.
Easy.
And I could have still walked in the end zone, but like the hamstring pop hurt so bad.
Right.
I didn't know what happened. Like I kind of just jumped to the side.
Right.
And then I remember going to the sideline. I think I ran out of bounds on the 9, and everybody was like, why didn't you run in? I was like, yo, I think I pulled my hamstring. You know what I'm saying? And then, yeah. So I think I always look back at that time and say,
Right.
things would have been a little different for the Cowboys in general if I didn't get hurt, because
that year.
Dez wouldn't have had to come back early like he did, and I think that stifled his career, because he never really got healthy. He's the first time ever since that time he hurt his foot. It's the first time he's been healthy, and it took him 2 years to get back.
Right. That's crazy.
And I think everything will be different, man. I think I would still be out there right now.
Well, things happen the way they do. You were blessed to, and you're not retired yet, so who knows, if you get picked up again or not. But you've played 6 years, 2 in Oakland, 3 in Dallas,
3.5
camp in Arizona, and in the Dolphins. So you had some great games in Miami as well. So listen, man, we appreciate your time. Right, our time is pretty much up, but really quick, what are you doing right now, just in case you don't play football again? Tell me some of the things you're doing right now.
I have a, what's up, Lil B? I think I have a future in the entertainment space, the media space, like what you're doing here, doing stuff like this. So I've been doing a lot of YouTube media stuff, just getting myself on, camera. I've done a lot of stuff with Skip Bayless and Shannon and all those stuff like that on NFL Network or whatever. So excuse me, I'm just getting practice on that. So if y'all want to check that out, it's golf heavy. Excuse me, it's golf heavy right now on YouTube. It's Brice Butler lifestyle, and I'll be the first thing that pops up. And I've just been doing a lot of that stuff, and it's been going really well so far.
Awesome.
So I'm just gonna keep doing that, and I'm still training. Like I was at Exos this morning.
Okay.
And then when I come see y'all in a week, I'm gonna have to be in that basement, getting in that working downstairs in the basement and running outside in the street.
Getting it in.
Just to keep it on point. Just in case. I mean, I know the NFLPA is sending me retired benefit letters. I'm like, man, I ain't retired yet. So the way they do it is like, if you're out for a calendar season and then like the next one, they start sending you stuff.
Right, but you don't sign nothing yet.
I'm not signing anything. I just get the letters. I'm like, I haven't retired yet.
Right. So Braden,
hold on.
Braden, how you doing, man?
It's been good.
It's been good. I saw you went to the game last night. You had a good time at the game?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, listen, man, Grandpa gonna see you next week, okay?
Okay.
All right. Love you, boy.
Bye.
Bye. Well, listen, guys, that's our show today. This is 100 Yards of Football. If you like the video, like it, comment, share. I'm your host, Bobby Butler. And today, my son, legend Brice Butler, and the future track star, 2036 Olympics, Mr. Braden Butler. Thank y'all for watching the show today.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Bye.